Hey guys, Nick here, and welcome back to another Supergirl episode review. My thoughts on tonight's episode of Supergirl titled Crossfire, and I thought this was a really enjoyable episode. While it didn't necessarily further the plot or anything for me personally, I thought the dynamics between Alex and Lena, and finally seeing more of James, and what I feel like, and it's so far been a season that has kind of taken the focus away from James. Period. Like ever since the premiere and they sidelined him, I feel like they haven't really done anything with this character. And now that he's becoming the Guardian, I feel like now they're starting to do more with this character, which I'm happy that he's becoming Guardian, but I wish they would have developed this character more so far this season instead of focusing so much on Mon-El. But beyond that, I loved everything, essentially everything about this episode except Mon-El, but I'll get into that a little later. But I love the setup between Maggie and Alex, and I love the fact that Alex isn't quite sure about her sexuality right now. And of course, that's not how it's not gonna be straight black and white, now she's gay all of a sudden. It's gonna be a bit of a struggle for her to kind of come to terms with who she is at this point in her life. And being around Maggie is bringing out a side of her that she probably never even saw in herself. So all the scenes so far with her and Maggie, I thought have been handled great. And I'm really looking forward to what they do with her relationship with her, because obviously they're leading towards that. I mean, they wouldn't have had Maggie and her girlfriend break up if they didn't think so. And overall, from what I've seen, the audience is reacting pretty well to the fact that they're being in a relationship, or potentially going to be in a relationship. And as a fan, that's what, I'm not going to object, because I think it's a good dynamic and they have great chemistry on screen. And I'm always more for diversity in television, especially with interracial couples and characters of different sexualities. So I'm really happy to see the show being so forward in that aspect. And I love seeing their dynamics overall. And what else is there? I think James had probably had the best character arc in this episode, because I finally, at least for me, I got to understand why he feels the way he feels about wanting to essentially be a vigilante. And seeing him struggle with the fact that he even says hey, both of my best friends are wear capes and are superheroes, and what am I to them? I'm tired of being a sidekick. And I think that's a great thing about him, because in the comics that's kind of all Jimmy Olsen has been. And obviously this is a different interpretation of Jimmy Olsen. Of course, he's James Olsen and he's older, and he kind of went through that geeky phase or whatever. And now that he's an adult and he's not a photographer anymore, they can do a lot more with him. And I'm happy to see that they're taking the vigilante route. And while it is a little like John Diggle-esque from Arrow and what they did with that character, I'm still excited to see what they're going to do with his character moving forward. And especially seeing his dynamic with Winn in this episode, I thought was handled really well, because it shows that Winn actually really cares about him, even though they haven't had the most screen time and they don't always show their dynamic. I always thought that they've always had a really interesting dynamic, and I'm glad that they put the whole love interest thing aside in first season, and they actually kind of let them be friends and let them be close. And I thought that was a great thing to have in a TV show where it's mostly about the main girls. And I liked seeing Winn care so much about James and his well-being in this episode, and Winn ultimately turning around by the end of the episode and allowing James to kind of do his own thing and let him be a hero in his own right. So I really like their dynamic. And another dynamic that I'm really starting to enjoy of the show, and I think I've mentioned this week after week, is the dynamic between Lena and Kara. I think what they've established so far, it's almost akin to what they did with Lex Luthor and Clark in Smallville. It feels like you feel a bond between the two of them, whether it's romantic or just friendly. I think there's an undeniable bond between the two of them. And whenever I see Lena on screen, I'm never taken out of the scene. The actress does a phenomenal job, in my opinion, of giving us a character who you believe she thinks she's doing the right thing, and she's other than what they told us in the ending, that you have no reason to, other than her being a Luthor, you have no reason to not trust her, because you feel like for the most part she actually means what she says and wanting to do the right thing. And her, I just love her dynamic with Kara, and giving us again a more complex character who's not just just because she's a Luthor she has to be evil. She's a Luthor by adoption, essentially. And I love that she's just not the character that I expected her to be. And I think that's a great thing to have in a TV show, where it's sometimes it can be really predictable, and have a character who right now to me is unpredictable. I don't know what to expect of her. And that's why by the end of the episode, when we ultimately find out that the lady who's been running Cadmus and doing all these things is her mom. Now my question is she Lex's mom, or is she her real mom, her not adoptive mom? That's my big question. Because obviously we know that Lena's adopted, so what does that mean for her character moving forward? Again, is the Cadmus lady, is that her birth mom? Is that her adoptive mom? I don't know. If that's Lex's mom too, then I think that creates even more interesting dynamic that we might even potentially see Lex at some point. I mean, probably not. I mean, yes, they brought in Superman on the show, and they brought in and they brought in Lex's sister, but I don't know if that means that actually is Lena's or Lex's mom. Then I'm all for it and see what they do with that storyline. Even though overall I don't think Cadmus is as sinister as I would want them to be, or like, I just wish they weren't so like in your face, like, oh, this is Cadmus, we're doing all these things, we're gonna show you through video what we're doing, and anti-alien this and anti-alien that. I wish they weren't so like in your face about that, and were more like underground and had more of a like a secret plan, and weren't so just public about what they're doing. Because that's what I think, like with shows like when you don't expect what they're doing, I feel like what they're doing now, it's to me it's not really working for myself. But introducing that new information of her being the lady being Lena's mom, I think that is going to make me more interested in what Cadmus is actually doing. So there is that. The main problems I had with this episode just revolved around Mon-El. I am getting really tired of him. He brings absolutely nothing to the table other than being just another love interest for Kara down the line. And this entire episode, when he's being all flirty with that one Eve Teschmacher chick who's just, I just don't like Mon-El. I don't like the way he's portrayed. They make him so douchey, and it's like, that's not what I would want. Like, he's like, I mean, I don't know too much about Mon-El from the comics, I'll give you guys that. But I just, there's nothing about him to really like about him. All he talks about is, oh, on Dax M we did this, on Dax M we did this. It's like, okay, dude, we get it. You're from fucking Dax M. Like, we don't need to keep being reminded every 2 seconds. And I just don't like, I just don't like the guy. So every time I see him on screen, I'm like, ugh. I don't know, that's just me being, I guess, just complaining a bit. But that's just, there's nothing about the character that's interesting to me in any way whatsoever. Because I was excited for the character when we first were going to introduce him. And now it's just, he just seems like a pretty white boy to bring into the show to get more girls to watch the show. I feel like that's more of what they're trying to do. And I don't think it's gonna work. He's uninteresting. He's boring. He's not even charismatic at all. I just don't like the guy, at least in my opinion. But besides that, I thought this was a great episode, and seeing, you know, the gang with all the, you know, alien tech fighting Kara. And I love that bit in the end where they're at the gala, and Wynn and Len are like under the table, and they ultimately like save everyone, and by activating that device. That was a dynamic I wasn't necessarily expecting. And I think Wynn has become one of my favorite characters in the show. And he's almost like the Cisco Ramon of the show. Not quite as, like, funny, but I'm really liking him more now than I did in the first few episodes of last season. And seeing him with Lenny, he comes out from under the table with her. And he's like, oh, we were on the table doing that. And I thought that was kind of funny. But, again, overall, I really enjoyed this episode besides the Mon-El stuff. And I'm really excited for what they're going to do moving forward. And we're only a couple weeks away, or probably like three or 4 weeks away from the 4-way crossover between all the DC shows on the CW. And I'm super excited for that. And yeah, so I think with that being said, that's going to be it for me. What did you guys think of this episode? Did you guys like it? What were your guys' favorite moments? Let me know in the comment section below. And give this video a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for every other DC TV show and Star Wars Rebels show that I review. And also, if you guys didn't hear the news today, Young Justice was officially confirmed for Season 3. I did a little video for that if you guys want to watch that. And yeah, so once again, that's going to be it for me. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, have a good one.